Hi, let's talk about breath. Let's talk about breathing and just starting with basics. So before we even get into breath work, the essential thing we're working with is breath itself, is breathing. So there are things that you can do to practice training your body to breathe in a way that is most optimal in terms of oxygen efficiency and ease, really allowing your body to get what it needs with ease, and then in turn to feel the states of ease that you get from a nice, calm nervous system. And so by learning to breathe in this optimal way, not only can you practice it till it becomes your automatic style or type of breathing, but then it also begins to help you draw your attention to your breath. So you have this tool that is right there, readily available to you at any time to work with. So it's great, you know, it's our breath. It's free and it is freeing when we work with it. So let's just start with some basics on breathing. So for starters, practice breathing in through your nose. And you can breathe out through your nose or out through your mouth, but even just breathing in through your nose, there's all sorts of things happening. So our anatomy is intelligent, you know, our body is intelligent. And so when we breathe in through our nose, the air coming in is cleansed, it is warmed, it is moistened. So all of these things are preparing it to move into our lungs. And it also, breathing in through our nose, triggers the production of nitric oxide, which helps to relax our veins. And again, just allow with easy, optimal flow. So just practice breathing in through your nose and check in throughout the day to see if you're mouth breathing or breathing in through your nose. I highly recommend a book called Breath. It's a yellow cover, at least when I've seen it. And it goes into, you know, scientific studies about exactly the benefits on a deeper level of nose breathing, nasal breathing. And it also talks about the detrimental effects of mouth breathing. And if we're chronically breathing through our mouth, things start to happen, like even the changing in structure of our jaw and our palate, making it more difficult to breathe. So there's all sorts of information in that book and other resources, but that's a great read to just further give you knowledge to understand why it really is a tremendous benefit and an easy one to begin practicing right now. So even as you're watching this video, see if you could just start breathing through your nose. The other thing that we have to help us is just our posture, you know, so if we are in alignment and open and using our body correctly to help with the breathing process, then that is going to, well, help with the breathing process. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there are ways that we can use our body to help with the breathing process. And what I mean is that we can help allow for breathing to be easy, to be optimal, to be flowing. And when it is like that, it also has an impact on our nervous system. So our, you know, communication system that sends messages, chemistry throughout our body about whether we need to be like really focused and you know, attending to some sort of like threat or need that is imminent, or whether we can be more open and relaxed. And so our breath contributes to the state of our nervous system. So there's different ways that we can just check in with our body to make sure, again, that we're breathing correctly. So a couple of these, sometimes, like I have a reminder on my phone where I'll check in with my breath throughout the day, and you know, the reminder will come up whenever it does, and I check in to see what my breath is like. And sometimes I find, depending on what I'm doing, that maybe I'm even holding my breath. If I'm kind of tense or a bit stressed about something, I might be like holding my breath, and I can feel my body kind of clenched or constricted too. Other times, I'm breathing great. We'll get into that in a minute. It's very common to breathe with like the top part of your lungs. So like up here, and even just like feel that, like if you do that, you can feel like yourself get anxious, so when we're just using the top portion of our lungs and have really shallow breathing, it's going to be more rapid. There are studies done that show that animals that breathe fewer breaths per minute, so slower breaths, live longer. And so part of the reason for that is back to the nervous system, that if we're breathing really shallow, that tends to be more of a stress response. So we're like trying to get the air like in and out as quickly as we can, and so we're only using the top portion of our lungs. There is very little time where that would actually be necessary or be the best use of our breath for our body. Typically, we want to use our whole lungs. We want to be relaxed, open, stress-free, and we want to use our whole lungs. So you can do that by, practice putting a hand on your belly and one on your chest. And take a breath in. Let's do it through the nose, because we already talked about that being a great thing. So out through the mouth. Yeah, so notice if your hands move. They should, because you're filling up with air and expanding in that way. And ideally, you want your lower hand that's on your belly to rise as you take an inhale in, and then your hand on your chest to rise. So a couple things are happening here. One is you're using your diaphragm, so you're using your muscles here to assist in the breathing process. So you can even imagine filling the front and back of your body and your side bodies with air, especially when you're practicing. So maybe like 5 minutes a day, or a few times a day for 5 minutes, practice just being focused and conscious with your breathing. And so when you put your attention in, like really like, filling your front, back, side bodies, that's really using the diaphragm muscle correctly to fill the lungs from the bottom up and get the full use of our lungs. Again, it's also more calming for the nervous system, because when we do that, we're going to be breathing slower, deeper, and that's associated with a calmer state, and it's going to facilitate our body's ability to regenerate or to just thrive, because it's not in that stress state. So you can do that with your attention. So like I said, even when we had our hand on our belly and chest, I mean, obviously your lungs are up here, so it's not that you're breathing here, but sometimes it helps to just put your focus there, so that you feel your belly go out as your body begins to fill up with air, and you're visualizing it filling up there and then moving up. And that visualization can just help you use the right muscles and start from a place that helps facilitate getting the full lung capacity. And then up into your chest, your heart space, and then let it out. Sometimes, like I said, with the exhale, it's not as important whether it's coming from your nose or your mouth. Sometimes if you're really trying to do a slower breath, I find that it's helpful to exhale through my mouth. It's easier to control it, and the exhale is not quite as important in terms of, we're not getting benefits if we're exhaling through the nose in particular, when we're talking about, just day-to-day breathing, like, your normal, typical, default breathing can be in through the nose and then exhale through the nose or mouth. that is my current understanding and what I practice. So in through the nose, breathing fully, starting from the belly, visualizing the belly, breathing fully in and then fully out. You can practice, like I said, with maybe 5 minutes. Benchmark to go for is practice taking like 5 breaths a minute or 6 breaths a minute. I have another video that you can find on my channel that has waves that you can breathe with that are timed in that way. Is to help you train and get familiar with what it feels like to take that number of breaths per minute. And there are so many benefits to doing that, and just overall health and really supporting our body in thriving and using our breath to do that. The added benefit of doing a practice, again, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, ideally, why not do 5 minutes 3 times a day? And another thing, you know, this side benefit that you get is it's a meditation. Our breath really helps us to have something to focus on that is there and happening, and yet it's also moving and flowing. And so we can stay with it and follow that flow, which is not only training our breath, but it's also training our mind to calm down and our mind to have something to focus on. So then our breath becomes this other tool where there's something that is readily available to us all the time for free, right there, our breath. And from here, then we can get into breath work, and there's all sorts of different levers to push and pull and different things to play with in terms of the rhythm of breathing and turning the volume up or down on, you know, the depth of the breathing. So you have the rhythm, the speed, different patterns. So for instance, you can practice having an inhale and an exhale that are the same length of time, and that can be nice and balancing, bringing you into coherence. You can practice having an inhale that is half the time of the exhale, and that kind of breath or rhythm is going to take you to even a calmer state. If you notice your nervous system is like, you know, constricted or tense or alert, you know, you can use that kind of breath to calm. So we can play with rhythms. We can play with music and sound associated. We can play with lengths of time. So when you're doing different types of breath work for a long period of time, you can start to change the chemistry in your body, and then there's all sorts that you can do with that. You can play with breath holds under guidance, or with just double checking that you don't have any of the contraindications, like from a health perspective. But doing breath holds can be a positive stressor that, when done daily, or, you know, done, I mean, not all day, every day, you're not going to be holding your breath, of course, but when you're doing it in a focused time period, there's tremendous health benefits. And so there's all sorts that can be done with breath work, but it really helps to start with just breathing correctly, breathing in an optimal way, in a way that really supports you every day. So let me know how it goes, and stay tuned for more on breath work. And if you'd like to go deeper into breath work and some of the journeys and the other options available to play with, we'll be doing breathwork journeys on the retreat that I'm hosting in Portugal this November. And that will be a powerful part of really working with feeling into our body, feeling into our flow, freeing our mind, freeing any stuck emotions that have been hanging out in our body, exploring transcendental possibilities, and we'll have lots of fun with that. So the link is in the description for retreat information, and like I said, you can also check out the video with the waves that is a great and beautiful training tool for working with a daily breath practice. So thank you for tuning in. Happy breathing.